Just amazing thinking about all of that.
Yeah. Is the shroud proof that he rose?
Nope.
Why? What is it then?
The proof that he rose,
Not the proof that he rose. What is the shroud if it's not proof?
it's just the supporting evidence.
Oh, it's just evidence. It's like another crumb in the Hansel and Gretel trail, maybe, right? Maybe. Would this be significant to anybody's faith? No?
It might be like a little push
Yeah.
that makes them believe. Maybe.
Or, wait,
Yeah.
didn't like some of the people, like the guy at the end of the movie, like the guy who talked about radiation, didn't the guy say like the fact that there's radiation coming out and then like it's kind of unbelievable and there's no way we can scientifically explain it, like then they kind of convert in a way.
There was
at the
an
end?
implication that that the shroud has captured his attention and caused him to think about things differently. You know, like, could the shroud and the image on the shroud, that there's no known way it could be there, could it cause somebody that believes that nothing is real if it can't be seen and touched and tested, they're a materialist, you know? Could it cause somebody like that to go, wait a minute, maybe there is something to the supernatural. Maybe I should look into this Jesus person. Who did he say he was? Could that be a significant, like, nudge, as Ashton was saying? How about for you? Like, let me just pick on somebody here that I know is a Christian and is seeking Christ. Raise your hand if that's you. You're a Christian, you're seeking Christ. Okay, Gavin. Is this significant for your faith?
It's significant in the fact that it's kind of like a reinforcing kind of. It's just like a reinforcement of what I already know and what I already believe.
Mm-hmm.
It's just some more evidence that I can use in my defense and
Yeah.
apologetics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. How about you, Nick? Is it significant to you?
Oh yeah.
How is it significant to you?
It just shows, like I said earlier, it just fulfills. It pretty much fulfills my faith, and it really just opens my heart. It's all the miracles that Jesus performed, and it just shows how immaculate he is, and how just amazing and incredible that he is as that being.
Yeah. Yeah. The shroud. Yeah. Did you have your hand up or no?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
The shroud just makes me sit and go, oh my. I'm just gonna say it. Oh my God. Yeah, I said it. But I mean it. It just makes me not want to worship the shroud, but want to worship him. Wow, that happened. You resurrected from the dead. I know it's true, but it's I feel like it's kind of a Thomas moment where I can put my hand in his side. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And some people need that and some people don't. I don't even think I'm a person that needs that, but boy, does that feel good. Okay, let's talk about the flowers, the pollen, the limestone. Why is that significant? Oh, got lots of hands. Kelly.
Because the flower only grows in nearby Jerusalem.
That's right. So could the shroud have originated in any place other than the Holy Lands? Yes? No. Okay. Would somebody pass that to Claire? Sitting over there without context for what's going on. Right. And what else is significant about the flowers and the pollen? Did you have a thought, Suman, or was it already taken?
Yeah.
It was already taken. Okay. Yeah.
Didn't one of them have like thorns on it?
Oh! Again, where was that concentration of that?
Jerusalem.
Jerusalem.
Around his head.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Wrong.
said it too.
Yeah. Okay. So, Joseph.
It wasn't also, I can't remember if it was flowers or pollen that they saw in there, but they were only in bloom from like March or May to April or something like that, and that's the time that the crucifixion was
That's
happened.
the time
Well,
of
the time of
Passover, which is the time
Yeah.
of crucifixion. And they could tell all the way down to when things were in bloom. Yeah.
So they found the pollen from the thorns, like the thorn bush,
Yeah.
like we saw in
Yeah.
the video.
Yeah.
And that, that just also, it gives you that evidence, from Scripture, how we look at it, and we see that they they gave Jesus the crown of thorns, they placed it upon his head, and then we look at it, and we find that evidence of pollen being in that area then it results in being of the thorns. It just
Yeah.
kind of it backs up.
It continues to
Yeah.
authenticate.
Mhm.
Now, somebody could say, well, these were Romans and they were cruel. Couldn't they have put crowns of thorns on hundreds of their crucified victims? Yeah, Claire.
Well, it would make sense for them too because like it was a means of like making fun of Jesus because like he called himself the King of the Jews, and so they gave him his crown.
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah.
their-
Look at my cross over there. I don't know if you guys ever noticed, but the plate at the top is engraven and it says INRI, I-N-R-I, and that is what was engraven on Jesus's cross. Pilate put that up there, and that is the Arabic acronym for Jesus, King of the Jews, or just King of the Jews. And so there was a mockery going on with Jesus because he identified himself as that. So they put a crown of thorns on him and they put a robe on him. Oh, someone quick erase the board. Look who just walked in. I wonder why Claire was 10 minutes before you.
Oh, this is a different.
I don't know what you're talking.
Oh, you were in a
We
different
were in a different car and we just got ahead.
Claire.
True.
Yeah, I believe you.
How was it?
Okay.
How was it? How was the trip?
How was the field trip?
Yeah, it was cold.
Was it cold?
It's
Did
like
you get some good
raining the
pictures?
whole
wasn't that cold.
I got such. You guys want to see all my great pictures?
No, actually, no.
I'll go around to everybody. my
No,
great-
we aren't doing pictures right now.
I didn't want
Thank
to
you.
anyways.
Okay. So, how about the difference between the Mandylion, the Sudarian, and the Shroud? What's the difference amongst all those things, Ashton?
The difference among the Mandalorian and the Shroud.
Yeah, and the Sudarian. Do you have it? Does anybody in here have an idea?
I actually didn't.
Didn't know? Okay, Joseph, or Chris, how about you? We just said talk to Joseph.
Okay, the shroud was the cloth covering, the shroud was the cloth covering his body,
Yeah,
and then the Sudarian was the cloth covering his face.
okay, sort of.
And
Okay,
like-
but you're super, super close, Joseph?
So it was like, yeah, so the Mandalorian, so that was essentially what we know now as the Shroud of Turin, but it was just folded, I think they said 8 times.
Yeah.
So you just saw Jesus' face in the center of the top fold.
Right,
That
so
was taken-
Mandylion actually means face cloth
Yeah,
because it was folded, tetradiplor is what they said, folded in 8s or 4s, but it came out to 8s, so with the face on the front, Mandylion. So it was the cloth in 8s,
yeah, and
okay?
that's what was taken to King, what was his name?
Apgar.
Apgar, and that's what healed him. The Sudarian was what was put over Jesus' face right after they took him off the cross.
And why would they do that?
It was to keep get his blood that was on his face because there's the Jewish tradition of keeping the blood with the body.
Right,
So they
right.
just put it on there to soak up the blood, but then took it off and then covered it with what we know now as the Shroud of Turin.
And then so they kept it in the
Buried it
tomb
yeah,
with the
they kept
body
it.
because you keep the blood with the body.
Yeah.
Wait, so what was the Mandalorian?
Mandylion
Shroud that
is the
folded
shroud,
Jesus.
folded in 8, and at that time it was called the Mandylion.
So it's the Shroud, but it was just folded in 8s.
And how do we know there were folds on the shroud?
We can still see it.
It was burned.
We can still see him.
Because at some point it
It was
almost got
burned
burned up and
when
the
the
scorch
scorches-
marks left
We can still see
the clue that it was folded in 8, which also is just kind of like, I don't know, somehow this reminds me a little bit of the Dead Sea Scrolls because it's like, this is a record of something that happen that feels like in a lot of ways there was supernatural protection over this thing. I don't want to sound all spiritual or anything, that's kind of my job, but at the same time I'm like, this is really interesting, thought-provoking evidence for the resurrection of Jesus. Interesting, thought-provoking evidence, not proof. And it's been preserved for 2,000 years, which is very cool. Maybe it got some help being preserved, is all I'm saying, because it almost got burned up. But in the burning process, the folds can be seen, and so we know that it was folded. So we can link the shroud, we know it as the shroud, to this Mandylion that's also recorded in history. Do you know what I'm saying? Like otherwise we wouldn't be able to make that connection if the folds hadn't been scorched in there like that, which, thank you. So the question about why is there an anatomical image on the shroud, like this face of Jesus and the body of Jesus and the roots of the teeth and the metacarpal bones and all that, Why is there that on the shroud but not on the face cloth? Joseph?
Because it wasn't on his face at the time that he resurrected, it was next to him, and the
Right.
shroud was just covering his entire body.
Right, right. And we do have a scriptural record of there being 2 cloths, right, in the tomb. Now, if you're a skeptic, what might you say about all this?
It could have been anyone.
Could have been anyone, okay? So what would you say to Ashton? Could have been anyone.
Did anybody have pollen on their forehead?
You mean pollen from thorns?
Oh, we got it though.
Oh, he nailed it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What else might you say?
Why don't I know?
Yeah.
Well, you can look at the cloth and see that they're in the exact side that Jesus was pierced with the spear when he was up on the cross to make sure he was dead.
Mhm.
You can see where there was blood, and there was blood stain on the cloth, and also you can just look at all the blood that he had from his chest and like from all, or his back, you know, from all the whipping, and you can look just by looking at all the blood stains and you know, just it's.
Yeah, the blood stains make me, I wonder if that's as, it all kind of mounts, I think, you know, with the spear. But, you know, they could have really tortured a lot of people before they crucified him. I think it's the thorns on the head that are pretty telling. But the biggest point in that is the radiated image, you know. They're just, it's completely unique because it has a radiated image.
Wouldn't they have him like take the thorns off his head when he was buried?
Yeah,
But
but
it's still there?
still it would leave the pollen,
Yeah, the
right?
pollen.
Come on, Aaron.
Right.
It's okay, Aaron.
Right.
Get better, come on. Kidding, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
Guy who whirled in like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah,
Okay.
seriously, yeah.
It's an attitude.
Okay, there's that laugh, got it on film. All right. Yes.
I think as well, when we think about crucifixion, Jesus received the worst form of crucifixion, and on top of that, he was whipped 39 times before it, and a crown of thorns was placed on his head. Then he had to carry the cross all the way up the hill. And what I mean by the worst form of crucifixion is he was nailed to the cross. In other cases, people would be tied to the cross. They wouldn't have the, you know, have their wrists be nailed through and their feet be nailed through. It would just be where they tied their wrists, you know, and they had to dislocate Jesus' arm when putting him on the cross, which is, and it tells about that because it was.
Doesn't tell about that in the Bible, but that's a theory.
But
And surely his arms didn't even become dislocated from being up there if they weren't already.
yeah, I mean, especially when the whole weight of your body is relying on your wrists, you know, you're gonna have
Yeah,
so
and in
much.
Psalm 22 it does say all my bones are out of joint. So
But then looking at the, because we talked about his thumbs, you couldn't see his thumbs, and
Yeah.
one of his hands was covering the other, and so but you could see the blood stain on where the nail went through,
Yeah.
because it showed on the shroud.
yeah,
So I just think it shows.
it's
you know,
more proof that it
it's-
was Jesus.
Yeah.
Interesting. During my second block discussion, Daniel Bolliger, is that how you say his last name?
Bolliger.
Bolliger?
Bolliger.
I know
Bolliger.
it's Bolliger.
Bollinger.
What is it?
It was Bollinger.
Bolliger, okay. So that's good that we got that cleared up, okay? So now that that's all cleared up, okay? He asked me if he could get out his phone to look up some skeptical rebuttals to the shroud being the burial cloth. And one of the things that he found was that there's no trace of any spices on the shroud. And that, well, because in scripture it talks about how the women came down with spices and that Jesus was, you know, traditionally you wrap people with spices. What might you say about that?
It evaporated.
Well, it could have deteriorated over time.
Yeah, and he found online that the spices do stick around, like they're like pollen, you know.
Salt.
But isn't pollen does
Radiation.
end up deteriorating though?
Well,
It's just for a long period of time.
But they were
But the
both
thing
there
is-
at the same time. Pollen and
Touche.
spices.
Yeah, but pollen could last longer than the spice. You
Are
just
you
you
sure?
don't know.
Are you sure?
Herbs.
Are you?
She said
I asked, what could you say? So I think you'd have to kind of dig into that a little bit. What else might happen? Yeah, Joseph.
You know, about the spices thing, well, yeah, we're not gonna be able to find out on the shroud, but if you think about it, so back then they had a problem with, you know, like body spilling and stuff, that's why they put spices on it. The shroud wasn't the only layer on him.
It was the first layer.
Yeah, it was the first layer, and that's why the image is on there. They wrapped him, I think, there was one thing we read about the
So
resurrection.
here's what happens
It was
with
like,
the shroud.
yeah, it was like
So-
75 pounds worth of cloth.
Yeah, let's say this is Jesus, okay? Jackson.